Got our look at 8 o'clock news brought to you by Pacific Points, just moments away. But we do have Tom Nadeau, who's the administrator of the Division of Environmental Health for the Department of Public Health and Social Services. He's the guy that's going to tell us all about the new guidance out relative to the governor's latest executive order, which was released late Friday afternoon. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
Like your sweater?
Oh, thank you.
Right on.
I do my Mr. Rogers look here.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, we didn't get video of you putting on your shoes, or...
Yeah,
Jay.
It's one heck of a day in environmental health. Will you be my neighbor?
All right. Bree, you want to start, or should I go?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Tom, I guess the number one question we've been having with this latest guidance, we asked Chima, so with the social gathering limits at 10 indoors for vaccinated people only, 25 outdoors for vaccinated people only, I guess my first question is, what are the protocols for gathering of unvaccinated individuals?
Well, if you're unvaccinated, you should not be congregating at all, period, unless within the same household contact.
Okay, and then so with the businesses, restaurants, bars, 100% capacity, provided they seek proof of vaccination from their patrons. The question we had was if we're only...
I'm sorry, so if you're having a wedding planned on Saturday at a hotel and you have 100 people invited, you have to be vaccinated? Everybody has to be vaccinated, right? Or can you still have that wedding?
Okay, you can have the wedding, but per the executive order, which will be enforced also through our guidance memo, is you can't have more than 25 inside.
10? Wait, 10 inside, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Brie. You're correct. 25 outside, in case you have the wedding outside within the hotel, and 10 inside.
So the social gathering guidance trumps all occupancy and everything. Because the question we had was, what if a hotel is operating at 100% capacity in their ballroom, and that 100% capacity is like 50 people?
Right. That hasn't changed. So you can have, in theory, multiple events of separate groups, but each group cannot be more than 10 indoors, no more than 25 outdoors. So let's say I have a wedding. I can have it at a hotel, let's say a ballroom, but I can't have more than 25 inside. There could be a separate wedding unrelated to mine that have its own, same hotel.
You can't have more than 10 inside for your wedding, right?
10 inside. I keep sorry. Yeah, you're right. 10 inside, 25 outside. Right.
So no galas, none of that should be happening. Is that what you're saying?
As long as you don't exceed the number.
10.
Inside, yes.
And 25 outdoors. But theoretically, you could rent out like 5 different ballrooms. I mean, why would you rent out a ballroom for 10 people, though? And we talk about VIP treatment. Wow. Yeah, you get that corner all to yourself. Right on. So that's the official word is there, no matter what, you can't have a crowd bigger than 10 indoors or 25 outdoors, and they all have to be vaccinated or at least have received one of the jabs, right?
Correct. Like I said, you can have multiple events, but there have to be separate events in a ballroom, as we discussed. And then it can't be the same party.
Right on.
So what about then restaurants and bars? Is it the same thing?
Same concept, right. So restaurants, I can have my friends, 9 of us, including myself, be 10. We can have a table at the restaurant. We're all vaccinated. But can I invite an 11th friend and claim to be a separate group and join us? Because that'd be circumventing the intent and spirit of the executive order. So 10 is the max for inside, for restaurants as well, but 25 outdoors. But we all have to be vaccinated.
But in a restaurant, you could also have another table of 10.
Correct. Separate party. Separate group.
So it could be up to 20. That doesn't kind of
make sense
if you have a wedding then.
Correct. You can't have more than 10 inside and 25 outside.
No, but okay. So, but in a restaurant, say they have 20 tables, and you could fit 10 people at each table that are all vaccinated. So ideally, you would have, what did I say, 10 tables? That's 100 people. But in a ballroom, you can only, and it's a wedding, a gala, or whatever, you could only have 10 people.
Correct.
So Tom, like, let's say,
So
like,
you could have 100 in a restaurant, but you could have 10 in a ballroom.
Correct.
as long as
That's
you.
how, that is how we've interpreted the executive order, and our guidance reflects that.
So I could have a wedding at a restaurant, provided that we all sit in tables of 10 and pretend we don't know each other.
No. Oh, no, the concept is for the same event, same party, whether it be that celebration party, wedding party, or birthday party.
I see. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, Tom, so just so we're really, really clear, really so crystal clear, absolutely factual on this, again, could you go over the limitations for gatherings as they apply to hotels, bars, and restaurants? Just so we're
Sure.
really
So
clear.
I understand. Okay. By the way, as you know, these are all subject to change for next executive order or guidance memo. So as it stands today, currently, how the department has interpreted this is to say, let's say we'll take the restaurants, right? So you have a restaurant, and let's say its occupancy load is total is 100. So there's no limit to total occupancy load for like restaurants. And let's say it's 100, sake of argument. Okay. So based on the current guidance, you can have 10 parties, 10 groups, have their own table of 10 people each. So that's 10 groups, 10 people, 400 people. So that's allowed. So meaning, if I come with my 9 friends, I can get a table, provided we're all vaccinated, and that's fine, right? So another group who I don't know, not related to my group, my party, they can bring their 10 friends and occupy that same establishment, but of course maintain the necessary distance and occupy that table, and that's fine. And another group, all the way up to 10 groups for 100 capacity. So that's allowed. Outside, same concept except 25. But we all must be vaccinated as well outside.
So you said earlier that the way around it was if you're having a wedding, if you book like different ballrooms, right? But doesn't that fall under the same celebration rule that you said?
Okay. No. So let's say now I'm getting married, you're getting married, and Sabrina's getting married. But separate wedding, different groups, different invitation lists. So I seek a ballroom, and I can, whether it be indoors or outdoors, based on that requirement, I can have my group, right? One ballroom or the veranda, or let's say the outside gazebo, or whatever, the outside facility. Brie can have her own, right? And you can have your own as well. But we're not one party. In other words, we're different groups, different weddings. So that's allowed in that one hotel room. But obviously can't be the same ballroom because it's not with the different functions. So I'm talking about, let's say, 3 ballrooms.
I see. So I
But
can,
if there's one wedding,
yeah, so if I just want
you
to
can
have a
only
big ass
have
wedding,
10 people in that ballroom.
or 25 outdoors, no matter what.
That is how we currently interpret it, right? Now, if it's changed, of course, we'll make necessary changes if that wasn't the intent, but that's how we've currently interpreted the definition based on executive order.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you, Tom?
Well, what makes sense is I need to implement this by September 6th.
But it's
does that
effective
make-
already, right?
Yeah.
After 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It's effective
Oh,
after
what's
8
in effect?
a.m.
You're correct. Yeah, right. Everything's in effect. It's been in effect, but we're not going to enforce it until September 6th. Like I said, we'll be focusing on education and awareness. And like my participation today, I hopefully get the information out to as many of the people as possible so they can understand as well.
Right. That's why we want to make sure we're really, really clear. Hey, just on the proof of vaccination status, right? So we had gone around. First of all, I want to say that this is really impacting a lot of restaurants. It's been like very empty parking lots, just checking everything. But so we went around. We had a shoot last week. We went to go to the restaurant, and they carded us, which was cool because I haven't been carded in years. So I presented the proof of my vaccine, and they let us in. But then I know that the protocol, because I work in the media, the protocol is that we can also self-attest. And so I had told the lady, like, well, I'm vaccinated. And she was like, oh, no, we have to see your card, sir. And so I had to run back and get it. And of course, I'm not trying to cause trouble. So here it is. So I know that the guidance says that you have to either have proof of vaccination or sign the self-attestation form. First question, are the businesses equipped now, or is the self-attestation form available online or anywhere yet?
Right. To comment on to respond to your comment you made about they still want to see your card. Yeah. So if you look at the guidance document, it still says that if the business wants to place stricter controls, like actually demand to see the vaccination card, that's fine as well. And they don't have to accept the self-attestation provision of the guidance. They don't have to. It's up to them. It's their business. As long as they don't do less than what's intended. And to answer the second question, we do apologize. We thought it was attached to the original guidance, but the self-attestation form was not included, but it is available. If it's not already on our website, it will be probably as we speak, but you're correct. We failed to include it in the actual guidance document. It's a separate document.
Right. So
just to help out, it basically says that they put their name, date, and signature, and to acknowledge that if they failed, basically if they lie, it's a criminal offense.
So because I'm feeling like these businesses, even though there's that option there, right, they're going to want to like cover their ass and check for the vaccination proof and not have to rely on, the possibility that someone would attest to something that's not actually true. So in the event that these businesses do like let someone in who attests that they're vaccinated, and then you guys show up and do a check and it turns out they're not, who's liable for the fine? Is the business liable for it, or is the person who lied on the self-attestation liable?
Yeah, provided the business did its part, its due diligence, we would then turn to the individual who, let's say, falsified information.
Tom, I just wanted a clarification because you mentioned that this is public health's interpretation of the executive orders, but isn't this, didn't public health write the guidelines for this?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. We've been working with all the parties involved, but, like a lot of things, not everything, because we've gone through several executive orders, several guidance documents, and, we're trying to be consistent as much as possible. It's possible that whether it be at my level, be at the director's level, or the above, we may have missed something. So, we're trying to perfect that as we go along. And as you know, in the past, we've submitted revisions of earlier guidance. So we want to make sure we do that too if there is like I said, if there was an error on our part in terms of the language or our division's enforcement of it.
Right. Can I ask just another clarifying point? So let's say that an individual is one of the unvaccinated and they go to a covered restaurant to pick up food, a takeout order, but they have to go in to receive their takeout. Is an unvaccinated person allowed to step foot inside of the covered restaurant to retrieve a takeout order, or do they have to stay outside?
As I recall, reading the guidance, I think they could go in, but they can't. They just need to go in, make payment, and leave. But let me double check because I think that was something that we did discuss. If I can find that right section, I think you might be right. I think you can step in just to pick up the order, but you can't obviously loiter or linger around. So let me double check. I need to find the document, Chris, but that's a good question. You probably read it as well as I did. So if you give me a minute, or you can move on to another question while I look for it.
Okay, I got another question. So what about kids? Right, let's say that someone's eating out with the kids, and you have a 12-year-old unvaxxed, or an 8-year-old unvaxxed. Are kids allowed to go in to the restaurant and dine in with their vaccinated, legal guardian or parent or whatever?
Right, as long as they are less than 12 plus 1 month years of age, they don't need to be vaccinated or show proof of vaccination, because you can't get vaccinated right now if you're less than age 12.
Right, so 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, if you're unvaxxed, you're allowed.
Right, if you're unvaccinated, you're not allowed to go in.
Okay. And then also for the gathering, if you have grandparents who are vaccinated who stay a couple houses down from their grandkids who are unvaccinated, are the grandchildren unvaccinated allowed to visit with the grandparents vaccinated if they live in separate households?
That is a good question. Okay, so the intent, of course, is to control the movements of, well, prevent congregation, but also to minimize interaction of unvaccinated with, who may possibly get infected. So just based on that comment, I would say, well, I tell you what, if you look at the definition of congregation, it says if you are unvaccinated, well, congregation by definition is that if you are a family member, if you are outside the family member, you can't interact with others, right? So if you are vaccinated, you can't have up to, the numbers that indicated. So yeah, you can. If you're vaccinated and you have a 12-year-old who has not been vaccinated because less than 12 years old, yes, that person may interact with a vaccinated person like the grandparents.
But a 13-year-old grandchild who's unvaccinated may not.
If it's not the same household.
This is a weird one. Do children under 12 count to the total of 10 for the gatherings?
I would say total numbers is based on individuals, so I would say it would matter. Now, so the question would be like, can you have, let's say, well, the congregation number still stands, right, in terms of the numbers.
Right.
So I think they would count it as well.
Of course they would, yeah.
They will be counted.
That's why I'm not going to get invited to anything, because I'm packing 3 kids with me. That's like 4, right? There's half your limit right there. 3.
Yeah, do you guys have enough inspectors to do all of this enforcement? Because this is on top of what you guys are normally doing.
Correct. So we have to, once again, we prioritize our activities. We do have inspectors go out every day. Now, it may not be the full complement of staff like say one day to another day, but we always have at least one inspector going out to do enforcement activities. Well, right now, kind of an education phase, if you will. But yes, we've been doing inspections, and we never have enough, we can say. So we do the best what we can, what we have.
How many do you guys have?
So it may vary from 1 inspector to 6 inspectors, depending on the day of the week, and also period of the day, because we do a night inspection as well.
Are you tracking any impending restrictions or further modifications for bars since they continue to operate 100% capacity, and we've heard from Chima that there have been several clusters associated with them?
I have not received any information on that.
Did you ask about self-attestation?
To answer your question, Chris, about the kind of individual. So I'll read the section. It says individuals who do not provide proof of vaccination as required herein may not use indoor-outdoor portions of such facility except to order, pick up, or pay for food or drink or takeout, provided such individual properly wears a face mask. So a person may go in, pick up the food order, provided he's wearing a face mask, but the intent is just to pay, pick up, and leave, not to loiter or linger around. And It's up to the establishment to control that.
So just because I want to cover all the situations here, in the event that a restaurant is backed up on takeout for whatever reason, maybe people don't want to go in because they don't want to deal with showing the form or whatever, but a customer comes in to retrieve their order, the kitchen's backed up, man, sir, we're going to get your order ready, can I get you a drink in the meantime? No, can't do it.
Well, they should be waiting outside then.
Okay. So can they drink a drink outside from the restaurant if the restaurant...
Well, first of all, is he congregating? Is he with other individuals who are not vaccinated? Or the same group? So, we're trying to, there'll be definitely gray areas, Chris, and we foresee that and we expect that. I think the intent is, what's the establishment doing? Are they making their best effort? What's the individuals doing? Are they trying to making their best effort? We're not there actively to go out, issue tickets or citations. We really want people to comply. We really do. We don't enjoy issuing out tickets, nor closing establishments. We don't, believe me, we don't. But, if when necessary, we will.
Social distancing enforced with the 100% capacity, right?
Yes, 100% capacity is still allowed.
Right, and so that's kind of what's different because we did away with social distancing the last it's been a few weeks, right? So now, when you go in, it's 100% capacity, but we will see the social distancing measures back in place.
Yes.
Okay. What about churches? How does this latest EO that came out Friday? Is there any impact at all to churches, religious services, funerals?
Going to churches, that has not changed. There's a separate, as I recall, executive order and a guidance memo, so that's in place. So that has not changed. So that's the status quo for that, along with funeral.
And funerals, you're limited now to 25 vaccinated individuals outdoors, Tom? Is that what it is? Because, there's unvaccinated people who want to go to funerals, too. And I want to make sure
no,
we're clear.
funeral was not included as part of the covered establishments, nor is it I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we do not even include that into the definition of congregation.
Okay.
But I would have to double check what the executive orders indicated. As I mentioned, we're here to try to stick to the spirit and intent of the executive order, and I do recall that funeral was not explicitly mentioned, so I don't think that's part of the covered requirement or the restrictions.
That's interesting because we had some funerals that were labeled as super spreader events during the first surge.
Well, it comes back to the individuals. If you come as a group, that might become an issue. In other words, if you come as an individual or within the definition of household to a funeral, then that should not be an issue. But if you come as let's say I bring my 50 friends with me for a funeral, then that exceeds the congregation restriction, so that would be a concern. But the funeral was not explicitly mentioned.
So there's
but, I can get back to that on Chris, just so I make sure I don't misinform the public and give it wrong information.
Right.
So I can always come back to you on that.
So as of now, your interpretation is, though, that there's no limit on the number of people who can attend funerals, or not?
Yes, provided that they do the whole mask restrictions, mask wearing, disinfection, and the other requirements of social gatherings.
We did have a question on the comments from if you could just address this one more time, louder for the people in the back of the comment section. So if we have 12 people who want to get together, vaccinated, can't we just go to a restaurant since there's no limit on their capacity?
It's 10.
No, because indoor seating is 10. Indoor is 10 people per group per party.
Vaccinated.
So you have 2 friends, unfortunately, the next time around, I suppose, or not invited.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go.
Can you provide clarity on the executive order as it relates to what the governor was mentioning about sports? No, is that just for schools?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again?
The executive order. Well, I guess if the previous executive orders are still in place, I guess it's no public schools, no private schools can do sports or practices. That also applies to outside leagues.
And I'll read this. So it says, all athletics, after school activities, inter-school activities, and busing shall be suspended. So school sanctioned activities are not allowed, but outside of that, let's say I have my own separate event, then that's not affected in terms of the school suspension. But you still have to abide by all the congregation requirements and vaccination requirements.
All right.
So it has to be
25 outdoor, fully vaxxed.
Or 10 indoor, fully vaxxed. Does that include
Correct.
like basketball? Sorry. So you have 16-year-olds, right? And you have 2 teams. Wouldn't you already be over the limit?
Yeah. Unless you're just playing
yes.
straight five members, no 6 men.
So you wouldn't even be able to.
Outdoors, you can have an outdoor basketball event, but 25 is the maximum.
Right.
But you still have baseball. Baseball is like 11. So I recall my
9.
baseball games.
But you can't.
9.
Okay, what about like
Oh,
wrestling, jiu-jitsu? What are some?
Football is 11, right, Chris? I think.
Yeah. What about like the contact type sports like jiu-jitsu or wrestling, like Bree said? That's okay under
Same
25.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that contact sports definitely a covered establishment event, so it'd be governed. Oh, it's still, the number's still not going to change.
Right.
It'd be 25 outdoors, 10 indoors.
And that's kind of like the where everything departs from, guys, is the social gathering limit. So it's 10 indoors, no matter what. If you're getting married indoors, you can only have 10 guests. If you're getting married outdoors, you can only have 25 guests, but they all have to be vaccinated. Indo, outdo, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Right. And the key is the group, right? You can have multiple 10 people, but they're separate groups, right?
So, for example, if I do CrossFit and my group is 12 people in my CrossFit class, it can only be 10 if it's indoors.
Correct.
The same thing if I were to be in a group, what is that, mix fit, the dancing workout? It could only be 10.
Zumba?
Zumba, yeah. It could only be 10 if it's indoor.
10.
What about the food truck when they have it over at Skinner Plaza or Nadeau?
Yes, we excluded that unless it's an organized event. Meaning, if you're like on Skinner, I believe that's an organized event.
Yeah.
Because it's scheduled, and I think someone collect fees for the site. I'm guessing, I'm not really certain. I need to ask my staff on that. But my understanding is that is an organized event, so that is now deemed a covered establishment, and thus they need to comply requirements as well. So they had to, the organizer need to implement some kind of control measures to ensure only vaccinated individuals are allowed within the premises where the event is occurring. Now, like I said, how they do it, it's up to them. We're not there to dictate exactly you have to do it like this or like that, but simply they follow the guidelines. And we're open to review any plans that they may have to help them out.
What number do they call if people do have questions about it? Because, let's say they're more confused after this interview. Is there like a hotline?
Yeah.
So
It seems like there's no spectators.
I hope not to confuse.
Yeah.
If you give us I'll give you our email address.
Okay.
We can send all the questions, and we'll do our best to answer them as timely as possible. So it's dphss-deh@dphss.guam.gov. One more time, dphss-deh@dphss.guam.gov. So if you send us an email, we'll do our best to respond as quickly as possible with the answer.
Will Public Health be holding another virtual town hall meeting? Do you know?
Oh, I do not know.
Okay.
It's above
I
his
can
pay
ask. I'll
grade.
definitely ask the director. Okay.
Yeah, that might help because I think GDOE their input session was actually really good to hear, and gave parents and stakeholders and teachers the opportunity to ask questions. And this kind of sounds like there's a lot of questions.
Yeah. but at its center, Tom, would you say that the social gathering limits, which kind of extend on down to every other type of business, do you guys firmly believe that lowering that number will help stop the high number of COVID-19 positive cases we've been seeing over the last 4 weeks?
No, well, I'm not. First, I'm not, the Division of Environmental Health. We're not in we're not the authority or the involved in the decision making on that regards.
Yeah.
But my understanding is that's the whole intent of the executive order is to reduce the number of infections. So we're hopeful that this recent executive order and new guidance will assist in reducing that numbers. We're hopeful.
I just had one more. Nadeau Flea Market. You mentioned Skinner Plaza because people accept fees. It's an organized event. What about the Nadeau Flea Market and then also the food truck thing they do over here on certain days of the week? Are those going to be covered?
If it is an organized event like the night markets, yes, they are deemed a covered establishment and they need to follow the guidance as indicated. So everything from the checking for vaccination, and the other requirements that's indicated.
What about the flea market? Would you say that's an organized event?
Oh, no, definitely. It's that in yes, that's definitely the organized event.
Okay.
Just one more because I want to make sure this is clear. If I have a total of 40 people attending an event at a restaurant indoors, is that allowed? 10 people per table, but under one social event.
One social event like a birthday?
This is a question from one of our viewers. So yeah, it's
Oh,
one
the answer is
social
no.
event. What was that?
No. The answer is no. You can't have a birthday party for 40 people at a single establishment at the same time because they're all there for one event, which is to celebrate a party, right? Individual's party. Now, you can have 10 different birthdays with 10 people for each party, but you can't have 30 or 40 people for one of those birthday parties.
But Tom, you know, I just got to ask because I want to go back to when the bars first opened. And I don't want to make it awkward, but I know that the governor had a fundraiser, and how she was able to get around the limit was that they had rented different, or they had entertained a certain number of people for like 30 minutes. They had 25 people, and then they moved in the next 25 people, which was a pretty clever way to get, kind of around, if you will, those protocols. And that's why people are asking, is because we've seen the precedent set where, I mean, even at the highest levels of our government, people have kind of tweaked these protocols, and maybe some would say flipped them on its head to get around it. So that's why we're asking what options, like let's say a wedding, like let's say I have an outdoor wedding. Can I do something like that where I have 25 and it's like, okay, it's been nice spending time with you guys, great hour, let's move the next 25 in? Because doesn't that violate the intent and spirit of the executive order?
I can't comment about the event that you shared. I can't comment on that. I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Regarding the comment, but can they interchange 10 people at a time? The way is as written that you have 10 people coming in, then leave, another 10 people come in. I guess by the now whether that defeats the spirit and intent of the executive order and guidance, can't really comment on that, except that in terms of as stated in the guidance, it just says 10 people per event, right? So I guess you can't have 10 people then leave and come in for some different 10 people for the same event, but you can't have more than 10 per each group, and they'll have to be vaccinated still.
Okay, got it. So no, you can't just cycle people in because it's under the same event.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Got it. Bree, you good?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
And Chris, I'll get back to you, Chris and Bria, regarding the funeral, just to make sure I had the correct information.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we always want only give us the correct information, Tom.
Of course.
Thanks, Tom.
I appreciate it, Tom.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Bria.
Okay.
You guys have a good day. Be safe.
You too.
Thank you.
Right on. All right. It's 8.